Not every horror book works for me. Some of them I DNF, and here are a couple of those. Alright guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Zach with Zacks Books, and welcome back to Zocktober. We are still going here, and yeah, it's been a very fun experience. This video is going to be a little bit different. I'm actually going to be discussing books that I DNF'd. These are 4 horror books that I started and either just stopped listening to because I just didn't feel the need to finish it, or I absolutely just did not enjoy the book. The other thing with some of these, as you'll see, is some of them are a little bit on the bigger side, but a lot of these just did not really catch the attention that I had wanted. Yeah, no, I'm going to get to these in just a second. Don't forget to check out the links down below. We will have these 4 linked down below, even though I'm basically going to be kind of bashing them a little bit. But the podcast, the bookstagrams, all that stuff's down below. Goodreads, Pango Books, we're selling stuff still. All that fun jazz is down there. Otherwise, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and let's get into some what I consider not so good books. Alright, the first one up is actually a Nick Cutter book, and that is Little Heaven. So, The Troop is probably my, I don't want to say my all-time favorite non-Stephen King book, but one of my all-time non-Stephen King books. I then read The Deep, and The Deep was okay. I gave that, I think, 3 stars. But I just could not get into this book. It's on the bigger side. It's the biggest out of the 3 books. I actually still have my bookmark in the book, and it is on page 39, which is part 2 of the book. And I think it was at this point where I just said, I'm not invested in the characters. The story is not really going anywhere. And I just don't want to continue reading this book, especially because of how big it is. However, I don't want to say I'm going to give up on the book entirely. It's something I might readdress in the future. But for me, at the time when I was reading this, it just didn't feel like the book for me. And I just didn't really want to continue reading it. I want to say I'd read it shortly after I read The Deep. When I read The Troop, that book was absolutely phenomenal. It was great, 5 stars. And so I was like, all right, well, The Deep, you know, underwater, which has got to be somewhat of a decent book. And I was somewhat disappointed with it, but not enough to where I was going to DNF it. And then I got to this book. So I was like, all right, it just kind of seems to be getting worse. So I just stopped reading this. And I'm going to be honest with you, I have no idea where I left off. I have no idea what's going on in the story. I just know that the 3 mercenaries, I honestly don't even know if they've been mentioned at this point. But I was just utterly bored with it, and I just couldn't continue following with it. So, and you'll notice in the next one, it's almost the exact same thing. But it is what it is. Eventually I might pick this back up, but I doubt. I have no idea. So, there you have Little Heaven by Nick Cutter. Alright, next up is The Ruins by Scott Smith. So, do I have a bookmark in this book? No, I tore it out of here because I just didn't want to continue with this. So, I had started this, I think, 2020, because I had heard decent things about the book. I had heard that it was good, it was a solid story. Stephen King's got a big blurb on the back of this thing. It was such a slow start. I couldn't tell you a lick about this book, and that's being completely honest. I maybe got a couple of chapters in at best, and I just could not continue with the story. It seemed bland, and I just couldn't get through the first portion of it. 2 American couples just out of college, a lazy beach holiday. There's an archaeological dig. Whatever. There's a dig. I don't know. I did not enjoy the first part of this book, so I gave up on it. I also, no, I wasn't reading on that. But no, I did not enjoy it. It just didn't seem that good of a story to me. And it sucks because a lot of people said this was a pretty solid book if you can get through the first chunk of it. But I can't get through the first chunk of it. So I don't know what I'm missing out on. Don't know if I'll ever readdress it, but maybe one day I will. I don't know. There you have The Ruins by Scott Smith. All right, the next one up, well, the next two are books that I for sure I'm going to readdress. The last two, kind of on the fence about because I just can't get through the beginnings. These next two are very heavily considered I'm going to continue them. Well, this one I'm going to have to restart. Ghost Story, Peter Straub. First of all, R.I.P. Unfortunately, he passed away. I know, being a Stephen King fan, I wanted to see the trilogy with The Talisman and Black House, and unfortunately I don't think we're going to get it now unless King writes it on his own and then dedicates it to Peter Straub, which would be cool. But I did not continue reading this book because it kind of had a slower start. It just, at the time, it just wasn't really clicking with me, and I just wasn't picking up. They talk about how, like, there's a lot of terror in this book. It's creepy. And to start, it was just it just kind of felt slow. There's just a bunch of, like, old guys meeting up in this building, and it just felt, it didn't feel like it was progressing at a fast pace. Again, I do say that for most of these, when I first started my reading journey, I was a very much so like, get to the action, let's go, come on. And you'll notice that with my Dark Tower series, I did not enjoy Wizard and Glass, Wind Through the Keyhole, and all that kind of stuff. But a lot of people really enjoy those for the more bigger plot of things. I feel that Ghost Story is going to be that kind of book, where I got to get through, the little bit slower parts and enjoy the story. Obviously, with his passing, I really want to get to this book because a lot of people say this is his best book, and I want to read it. Which I guess leading into the next book, so obviously Ghost Story, Peter Straub, a book I definitely want to continue, and it makes me want to read The Talisman because of his passing, but I'll probably do this first. Talisman and Black House probably won't be till 2023. But that leads me to The Terror by Dan Simmons. I got over 120-something pages into this book. I thought it was a decent story and it was building, but I just chose to stop reading it. It's on the bigger-ish side, but honestly with this one, I just stopped reading it. I didn't really have a reason to DNF it. I just put it away. I just was like, all right, I'm going to take a break from this. It is on the bigger side. I don't know. I just didn't finish it. And it feels weird because it's like another one of those books where Dan Simmons, like, this is, I don't want to say known as his most popular book, but it's known as one of his most popular books. I know The Abominable is also kind of a good one. Summer of Nights or something like that is another one that's considered a good one. But this, I want to finish this because it was starting off so good. Maybe this winter I'll pick this back up because it's kind of like, I don't know, like a snowy. I mean, look at that cover. It's like in the middle of winter. In the back, I think they have pictures from like the AMC series, and there's like some dude getting stuck in the snow and like ice and stuff like that. So definitely something I want to pick back up along with Ghost Story. Ghost Story I might pick up sooner. This is probably going to be more of like a wintry book, so probably December, January. Whenever we finally start getting snow, which who the hell knows in our place of where we live. But yeah, there you have The Terror by Dan Simmons. Alright, so here are 4 books that I DNF'd. We were going to do 5, but I honestly just couldn't narrow it down. I had too many that could have taken the 5th spot. Aurora I gave up on, and The Lost Village. Oh, God. That was terrible. That one just didn't click for me. That book apparently didn't click for, like, anybody. But these 4, again, these 2, I definitely want to readdress. The other 2, I'm on the fence on. If you guys want to try and convince me to read these, slide me a 20. No, I'm kidding. But yes, these are books I DNF'd. What are some books that you DNF'd that were kind of popular? Because I would consider these some somewhat popular horror books that I DNF'd. What are some that you DNF'd? Let me know in the comments. And as always, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you in tomorrow's episode of Zocktober. Later.